It was 1814. Washington was under attack and the British were getting ready to fire on Baltimore. They were trying to blockade all U.S. seaports, but they had to get by the guns of Fort McHenry. 20 cannons and 1,000 men. The British had 19 guns and 5,000 men. President Madison sent a young lawyer, Francis Scott Key, out in a rowboat to negotiate the release of a civilian who had been captured. The British admiral refused, and he refused to allow this young lawyer to leave. The bombardment was ready to begin. The British commander then told him that bloodshed could be avoided. All you have to do is get them to bring that flag down at Fort McHenry and surrender. Francis Scott Key simply shook his head, no. The British began 25 hours of non-stop bombardment. They fired until they ran out of cannonballs, and they were down to their last rockets when they released Francis Scott Key. He began rowing a little sailboat over to Fort McHenry. At first he couldn't see the flag because of the smoke and the glare of the rockets. But suddenly, by the dawn's early light, there it was, still flying, battered and torn and leaning over to one side. But once inside the post, he found the bodies of 4 dead patriots there at the base of the flag. 4 dead bodies were holding up the flag. That's when Francis Scott Key began writing what became the most famous poem in history that more than 100 years later became our national anthem.